Greetings, fellow Clash Royale clanmates and so on. So, at the request of a couple of people, I'm going to try to explain how I design my decks. Now, I want to emphasize I am not a pro. I'm not even saying I'm very good. But a lot of times, having a system, having a plan, keeps you from making sloppy mistakes, so on and so forth. So, very simply, my first two cards in any given deck are generally what I refer to as the win condition, the method that I'm going to try to use to win games with. Uh, Obviously, Gollum is going to be the center of that, and generally what I try to do is push the Outlaw, I think that's what she's called, I don't know, the Bandit, whatever, down behind the Golem, and that provides a shield for her. She rolls in and does the damage. Usually the rest of the top row is either other cards that are a part of a win condition, although if you're ever using 3, that's a lot of cards to a win condition, or cards that, in the case of these two, and to a lesser degree the Bandit, are things that can kill my win condition. If I'm playing the Golem, things that I'm afraid of are ranged combatants that do high damage, Musketeer or Wizard. She's very good for killing them. I'm afraid of the Golem getting swarmed from the air. He's really, really good at that, and also pretty high damage in general. I don't understand why he's not a more popular card. That's 310 damage a second. And, of course, the last way that a Golem can get turned into 2 mini Golems is these guys, and she's wonderful for dealing with that. I'm also a real big fan of the Valkyrie because she's so good at countering so many other things. She'll kill mages after they cross the bridges. She's wonderful for killing the sorceress lady who summons the skeletons. Just a handy card. The top row almost always is going to be cards that I use to defend my win condition, whatever that win condition is going to be. The archer, the skeleton, and these two cards, this represents things that I am afraid of that can potentially beat my deck. Getting swarmed by balloons is something that I worry about. So I've got the archer plus the shock to deal with that, and this guy's also perfectly good for dealing with that. The Knight or Hog Rider Rush, of course, there's your classic answer for that. Swarms, this is the classic answer. And the Zap is really, really underrated in my opinion for the stun in it. It's really good for interrupting Inferno Towers and Inferno Dragons so that their damage isn't stacking up over and over. I'm not sure that I've got any decks at this point that don't have this in them. And this is also, these two cards are decent for when she's not around or he's not around for defending Mr. Gollum. Ideally, you want win condition up here, things that defend the win condition over here, and these cards are general defenders that can potentially help your win condition, and of course, you always want to have 2 clearance spells, in my opinion. Really, the only card in this entire group that doesn't help my win condition push is the skeletons. The archers riding in behind the golem do just fine back there too. So the way I actually play the deck is you put the golem in the very bottom of the playing field, as far back as you can, and you let it build up mana as it marches forward. And right about the time it reaches the bridge, they will have played some type of counter to it to try to get damage on it. And depending on what that counter is, that's when you play the protect your win condition cards, depending on what they are. After that, the only trick you have to worry about is making sure that you are respecting the point at which your push ends. If this guy is still alive, I'm always going to stack more cards behind him. If both of his breaks are active, I'm going to stack cards behind those. But as soon as there's only one golem left, I'm not going to bother. Let's take a look at the next deck on the list. This is a fairly classic balloon deck. My win condition here is a little bit trickier. It's drop the balloon and rage it. And then what I do is, I'm a big fan of this card, I actually put her down under the balloon, which a lot of times people don't even spot, and then they put out one of 2 methods to try to clear the balloon. It'll either be the flying critters, which she doesn't really do anything about, and then she sneaks right in and starts hammering the base, or it'll be some type of mage, probably this guy or the ice mage or something else, and she's wonderful for clearing those. If, on the other hand, I went without the bottle because I've seen problems with it so far, I might follow the balloon with the I want to clear things in the air card. Generally, your first go with this, you're going to have surprised your opponent. And so you're going to see a quick, poor reaction probably to your strategy, and it will tell you in the future, do I need to escort the balloon with ground cover or air cover? And then again, I have cards to counter things that I am afraid of. The charging cards, the build-up cards, the swarms. Really, in this deck, this should probably actually come out in favor of Zap because I've already got a couple of AoE clearance cards. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. And the last deck that I'm actually fairly confident in and would be willing to show up again right now is this one. This is what I call my budget deck. It's something that I tend to show newer players a lot of times. The strategy here is not too dissimilar to what you actually saw back here at deck 1. Here's my main push condition. He's going to roll down the lane. Archers are going to back him up. And again, I'm worried about swarms, going to be cleared by him, or enemy units pounding on him. P.E.K.K.A is good for clearing that. Realistically, we could maybe put the mage up here and the archers down here. They fulfill a very similar role, but we've got a lot of AoE clearing here. And again, we've got this for anti-big guys. This is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated cards for stopping Prince charges, because he'll slam into it if you put it right in front of your tower. The tower is shooting him the whole time, and then it, of course, breaks and gives you 4 skeletons. By the time you've cleared the 4 skeletons, the prince is going to be dead. So you have effectively 2 ways to kill one of this deck's biggest fears, which is chargers. This guy also, as we know, very powerful, doubles as an excellent clearing mechanism for big creatures, as is P.E.K.K.A. So while this deck isn't exactly, its win condition isn't devastating, it's got a lot of medium range, medium scale threats. This is the big push, but you can't ignore a dragon on the move, or a P.E.K.K.A, or a mage. So there's a lot of easy ways to win with this deck, and it's got no legendaries and really only 2 epics. And everybody seems to get these 2 epics very early, so it's not a terribly expensive deck to use. This one is just something I'm practicing with. Again, you see the same thing. Going for a win condition, the fast rush in with the elite barbarians. Usually they get chewed up by the air units, and again, coverage and defense. And this one I make no promises about. It's just something I'm toying with, the idea being to constantly peck at an enemy at range. But the 1 or 2 times I've used this has had very mixed results. But these 3 decks, I'm going through them one more time so people can see it, are very much decks that I swear by. Golem push deck, a balloon elixir rush deck, and a budget just punch down the lane, you can't ever really ignore anything deck. And that's pretty much it. Hope this was useful. Please feel free to leave commentary. And again, I'm not a pro at this, but maybe this will help some people get some basic ideas on the ground.